And hello, my brave knights, princesses, and princesses. Welcome back to Beginner's Guide. Well, last left off, we're still delving into Coda's game. You know what's sad? I was recording this game earlier, and I finished the game, stopped the recording, and it turned out I had been playing the game in preview mode on OBS, recording it on preview mode, which means no file happens or anything. So we're doing this again, and I'm gonna say the same thing I said when we get to it. Is that person? How lovely. Been a long time since I talked to anyone. What's wrong? You look lost. Completely out of ideas. Oh no. Did something change? Machine kept me going and then stopped. Wait, you're looking for machine. I think I know where it is. It isn't far. You have to take me to it. I can do that, but there's a problem. It's guarded by a difficult puzzle.
Creative frustrations.
You can help me solve the puzzle. We'll find the machine.
Now,
deal?
Put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for? Because from my perspective at the time and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on.
Yeah, I've solved this puzzle before. Okay, so open the door. Now we close the door. Hold on. So just press the switch here. Yeah, it's simple.
You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash.
Huh.
Seeing this game at the time that he made it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like, video games are not worth this amount of suffering. This is someone I really cared about, and I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this was the worst thing for me. I don't know. This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to stop more than anything. I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop. But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
May 2011. Machine. I'm glad to see you've arrived safely. We've captured the machine. It's waiting for you now. You can begin the interrogation whenever you like. I intend to be quick. Very good. Just be warned that someone called the press, so we might have a bit of attention on this one. Also, one more thing you should know about the machine. It calls itself Coda. Kill yourselves, 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 kill yourselves. Okay. Hello, machine. Coda, whatever your name is. You stopped.
Of course, it's the machine.
We are what's keeping us alive. Those people out there, can you imagine the pain you put them through? I've been so alone. Apologize for leaving me. No, nothing. I could have said the third one. Right then, I'll apologize to the people on your behalf. What's up? My people, my people. Falls on me to... well, troubling revelation works too. The machine refuses to admit that it deliberately hurts us, but this is not important. We are stronger than it thinks we are. Let's pay it in retribution. Follow me, we will destroy the machine. Oh.
So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that Code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work?
You'd have to ask him first.
So I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
Yeah, but I don't think it was him that was afraid. Put down your weapon.
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need, to be told that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something... I really felt like I'd done something good, like Like, I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy.
But there's always a but. Always.
So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while.
Gee, I wonder why.
So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
June 2011. The Tower.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work.
Spotlight.
Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game.
I think he sent you this game for a reason, pal. I think it's not supposed to represent him, but you.
This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise. So the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played. It actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all.
But you can solve it.
But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
You didn't ask Coda for permission to show people his games.
And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end.
Well, I was having
But
fun.
that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze?
That you could solve it because this game was made for you. The house cleaning game was fun, but I'll save my thoughts till we get to a certain point.
The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on. The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, you know, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that. Was I a failure for not understanding this game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time, and as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean.
Yeah, what do they mean?
And he wouldn't.
I've been curious about that this whole game.
I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed. Where did I screw up?
Where indeed? Dear Davy, thank you for your interest in my games. I need to ask you not to speak to me anymore.
Aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... It felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable.
I wonder at times whether you think I'm making these games for you.
And the people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
You so infected my personal space that it's possible I did begin to plant solutions in my work somewhere, in between games. If there was an answer, a meaning, would it make you any happier? Would you stop taking my games and showing them to people against my wishes, giving them something that is not yours to give, violating the one boundary that keeps me safe? Would you stop changing my games, stop adding lampposts to them? Told you those lampposts meant something more than what he was telling you. Would you simply let them be what they are?
And I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean?
When I'm around you, I feel physically ill. You desperately need something that I cannot give, and I cannot give it to you. I literally do not have it. Struggling to come up with new ideas is not making me depressed. Low points are just part of the process. The fact that you think I am frustrated or broken says more about you than me. I realize that this doesn't make sense to you just yet. Which is fine, you're not my problem to solve. But I do hope that one day it clicks and that you make peace with the thing you are wrestling.
I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself.
And when you finally see what I'm talking about, don't say anything.
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work, is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was.
Oh, the walls are closing in.
I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay.
Epilogue. Oh, back in the train station. Cool.
More love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease.
Yeah.
Solution.
Can be.
Solution.
Praise can be a disease when there's too much of it, and the praise isn't even yours to be given to. Especially if you're being given praise for something that isn't yours. And these games weren't his.
If someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate.
No, you probably would have still thought he was desperate.
I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed.
You probably would have done that too.
Maybe he just likes making prisons.
Or maybe he likes making puzzle games. Oh, this looks like a room from, Doorways. Good times.
Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you.
I don't. I just think you were taking glory for something that wasn't yours to take. These games weren't his to take. He was making them his own by adding solutions to them when there weren't supposed to be solutions. They're just, ideas that were being filtered.
If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be?
About validation, it's yours.
It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like.
You should find validation that is yours to be given.
What now?
Not steal off of other people's work. You added lampposts to give Coda's games.
I think I need to go.
Oh, you are?
And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for, and so I'm just gonna... Okay.
Well, I'll be here, walking through this interesting world of Coda's games. You see, once we get to a certain area, I'm going to just stop and share with you all my thoughts. Because I had a lot I was saying when I reached a certain point and him said that OBS wasn't recording because I said a lot of cool stuff. But I can remember most of what I was saying. I'll just say it again once I get there. I've pretty much said most of what I've said. But we're gonna have a big, like, paragraph summary of it. So my thinking, what I am interpreting this as, the way I look at Coda's works is like a bunch of short stories. He basically made all these little short stories with no meaning whatsoever. His own interpretation of things and stuff, and his friend put interpretation in it to make sense because he likes to be in control, because he likes things to make sense. But Coda wasn't making these games to make sense. He was looking for his palette of inspiration, as it were. He was looking for what sort of game he would want to make in the future. The bigger picture, basically, is what he was working to. And his friend kept putting light posts at the end to signify the fact that that's basically the end. You're working towards that lamppost. Sorry. And Coda to put a lamppost at the end of a game, cry out loud. To have a lamppost at the end of a game is to say that that's where the creativity stops. This is where the game ends. This is where that section of creativity, ends. And Coda was basically saying that his creativity doesn't have a bound unless he says it does. The games don't have an ending unless he puts one there himself. His friend was putting lighthouses in, so they were no longer Coda's work. They became his work. They became his games. And now he's doing this just to reach out to Coda and see if Coda will forgive him for basically stealing from him or not. And honestly, I think Coda probably has seen this by now. I think it's been long enough. Would he reply? Well, it's up to him, really. It's really up to him. I don't think he would, though. I think he would see this, he would understand, but I don't think he would. Because if he has already told us he's given his friend his spill, he's leaving his friend to do what he has to do. Wherever he goes from here is up to him. Coda basically is moving on to focus on other things, more important things than games. The games were just his little spilling of creativity, and whether or not they made sense is not the point. It's like a story I wrote. I could basically sum up this as a story I wrote, where I basically wrote this robot story. And in the beginning, I say that everybody has written a robot story. Everybody. Robots taking over the world, robots doing this, doing that, doing the other thing. But it's not the point. The point is not the fact that everybody has written a robot story. The point is It's how you do it. It's how you take those little kinks of machinery and what role they play, what stage they're on, what things they do. It's about what you can. It's about the fact that you have the creativity to do something that while everyone else has done the same thing, you do your interpretation of that thing. And Coda's works are him trying to find his interpretation of the bigger picture of what his basically main game is going to be. And his main focus was on prisons. It could have been a puzzle game. Another time he focused on a door puzzle, which, like I said, he could have been trying to work on a puzzle game. Where you start in a prison cell and you're trying to find your way out, and there are people on the outside trying to help you get out. Or not. But like I said, Coda's works are like little short stories that don't make sense because they weren't meant to. They were little experiments to see what he could do and what he couldn't do. Sure, he vented into them, but everybody that's human vents, feels, gets depressed, falls low, but they always rise up again. Not just game makers, not just people that make games, but let's players have the same problem, writers have the same problem. Everybody has the same problem. But it's how they pick themselves back up. It's how they interpret things. It's how they see everything that makes the difference. This game is about how someone saw some completely normal ideas a person had, and how they just wanted it to have some sort of meaning, but really it was just Coda putting his work out there and tearing it apart again because he saw fit for it to be torn apart because it might not have been good enough, or maybe he was showing that this guy was destroying his work by making it his own, and that's why the machine stopped. Because the machine realized that it wasn't, the stuff that it was chugging out wasn't its own anymore. So, in the end, this wasn't his to give. This guy who's been talking to us, this wasn't his to give. Sorry, I just hit my mic again. He was taking credit for something that wasn't his to take. He wanted to feel good about himself. And that's why Coda stopped, because he realized that this guy was feeding off of his work to make himself feel like he mattered. And there are plenty of better ways to make yourself better than that. He should have really asked Coda first before he went off and did that. Coda probably would have said no. And I could understand why. He wanted to know why the puzzle was so unforgiving. That was because, like I said, that game was made for him, not anybody else. Because Coda knew that if anybody could break through those 3 doors, it was that guy. Because he made a bridge, he had the code ready already, and he also could break open the door, adding to the game to make it make sense. The point is, it was grueling because that's the point. It's a grueling task to make a game, it's a grueling task to play it. Doesn't matter what game you play, there's always something grueling about it. So the question now that this guy in the story this guy who's narrating the story asks is, where do I go from here? Simple answer, this is up to him. Because we're in a maze. A endless sea of possibilities. And this maze goes on and on and on. So the question is, where does he go from here? He has choices to make that will lead him in any one of these directions. As for where the way out is, who knows? But the point is, wherever he goes from here is where he goes. And that's the game. And the music that's going to play is probably going to be copyrighted. So for our so yeah, if Coda has seen this, he won't tell anybody. He'll probably listen, and he'll probably just move on. The point is, these games are not Coda's. They're this guy's. But maybe Coda will be grateful that he at least tried. We don't know. I don't know. But that was the beginner's guide. So I'll see you guys in Ethan Carter. Leave a like, subscribe, because there's always room for more, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye, everybody.